The ocean was a dark expanse beneath the hull of the cruise ship Hope, a massive floating palace that offered luxury and escape. I stood on the deck, the salty breeze tugging at my clothes, feeling the weight of something heavy in the air. The ship had been filled with laughter, music, and the clinking of glasses, but now a shadow loomed over us. Mr. Angela was at the railing, her long hair whipping behind her like a dark banner, her gaze lost to the horizon. I had never seen a woman so consumed by despair. She was in her late 40s, slender yet fragile, with a round face that seemed to sag under the burden of her thoughts. "Why does it feel so wrong?" I murmured, glancing at the other passengers who were laughing and dancing. They were blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within Mr. Angela's heart. "Everything's fine," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper, drowned out by the sound of waves crashing against the ship. "Just fine." I didn't believe her. The tension coiling in the air felt like a serpent ready to strike. Suddenly, with a cry that pierced through the laughter, she lunged forward. "No!" I screamed, my heart racing as I reached out, but it was too late. "Help, someone, please!" Her voice echoed, desperate, as she plummeted into the depths below, swallowed by the dark water. The crew sprang into action, shouting commands and deploying lifeboats, but even as they searched, I could see the hopelessness in their eyes. Minutes turned into hours, and the searchlights swept the waves in vain. "Get her back!" I yelled, but the void only mocked me. The ship remained eerily still, the partygoers now silent, their faces pale. Days passed, but the weight of her absence hung over us like a storm cloud. The cruise ship Hope became a ghost ship, each passenger haunted by a presence that lingered just out of sight. I could feel it creeping into my bones, a chill that seemed to whisper my name. That night, the first scream shattered the silence. "Ah!" It echoed down the corridor, sending a jolt through my spine. I rushed to the source, heart pounding. I found a man clutching his throat, his face twisted in terror. "Something's wrong," he gasped, eyes wide. "I saw her. She was right there." "Who?" I asked, scanning the shadows that danced along the walls. "Mr. Angela." She's back." He stumbled backward, and I could see the panic in his eyes as he pointed over my shoulder. I turned to face the direction he was pointing, and there she was, or what remained of her, a flicker of her essence, a ghostly form shimmering in the darkness before disappearing with a soft, chilling laugh. I felt the urge to scream, but the sound caught in my throat as I turned back to him. "We need to alert the captain," I said, urgency slipping into my tone. But as I reached for my phone, it buzzed and flickered. No signal. "Great," I muttered, frustration coursing through me. "We're cut off." The nights that followed were filled with screams and moans, each echoing through the ship like a dirge. Passengers began to vanish one by one, dragged into the depths by an unseen force. The crew tried to maintain order, but the fear was palpable, thick enough to choke on. One evening, I found myself on the deck, staring into the endless darkness of the sea. "Why is this happening?" I whispered into the void, a question that echoed back at me. "Because she wants revenge." The voice was soft, almost melodic, and sent shivers down my spine. I turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows, a woman with dark hair and a knowing smile. "Who are you?" I demanded, taking a step back. "Just a friend of Mr. Angela," she said, her voice a low hum. She was pushed overboard by someone close to her. A storm was brewing that night, both inside the ship and out. "What do you mean?" I pressed, my heart racing. She was not meant to die, but someone wanted her gone, and the sea answered the call. "Who?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. The woman's smile faded. "The answer lies in the captain's journal. Find it before it's too late." Before I could respond, she melted into the shadows, leaving me alone once more. The weight of her words pressed down on me. I had to find that journal. Navigating the ship was like wandering through a haunted maze. Each corner held echoes of laughter now turned to despair. I finally found the captain's quarters, the door slightly ajar, creaking as I pushed it open. Inside, the air was stale, filled with the scent of sweat and fear. The captain's desk was cluttered with papers, but there it was, the journal, leather-bound and worn. I rifled through the pages, skimming over the captain's neat handwriting until something caught my eye. Mr. Angela was not alone that night. I saw someone, a shadow lurking in the storm. I couldn't see the face, but I felt the malice. A cold chill gripped my spine. Each entry grew more frantic, detailing the growing unease among the crew and passengers, the whispers of discontent. The last entry was barely legible, I fear for my life. They say she walks among us. If anyone finds this, know that it was not an accident. I saw them push her. The storm took her, but the darkness remains. My breath quickened. I had to warn the others. I turned to leave, but the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. "Let me out!" I yelled, pounding against the wood, panic rising. "Not yet," a voice hissed from the shadows. I spun around, heart racing. The ghostly figure of Mr. Angela materialized, her face twisted with rage and sorrow. "You shouldn't have come here," she said, her voice a haunting echo. "You were meant to join me." "No, I'm trying to help you," I pleaded, stepping back as she advanced, her form flickering like a dying candle. "Help me?" she laughed, a sound that sent chills through my bones. "You can't help the dead." The door rattled as if something was trying to break in from the outside. "Let me out!" I screamed again, desperation clawing at my throat. Just then a loud crash echoed through the ship and the lights flickered. I seized the moment, lunging for the door. It swung open, revealing a crew member, eyes wide with terror. "Get out!" he shouted, pulling me away from the threshold. I stumbled onto the deck, the night alive with screams. Passengers were running, some floating in the water, their faces twisted in agony, as if being pulled under by unseen hands. The crew struggled to keep order, but chaos reigned. I turned to the crew member, desperation flooding my voice. "We have to find out who did this." He shook his head, breathless. "It's too late. The ship, it's cursed." "No, we can't give up," I insisted, but the hopelessness in his eyes pierced my resolve. Then, like a gust of wind, the ghostly figure of Mr. Angela reappeared on the deck. Her face shadowed and angry. "You seek the truth. But the truth is my vengeance," she intoned, and I felt the air grow heavier, pressing down on me like a weight. "Listen," I shouted above the chaos. "We need to stop this. We can help you." "Help?" she echoed, her voice dripping with disdain. "You cannot help the dead. You can only join them." Suddenly a scream pierced the night, and another passenger was pulled overboard, a gaping maw of darkness swallowing them whole. "Run!" I shouted, grabbing the crew member's arm, and we dashed toward the lifeboats. As we reached the edge of the ship, the water boiled and churned, angry waves rising like monstrous hands reaching for us. "Over there!" I pointed to a lifeboat that bobbed precariously. We leaped over the edge, scrambling into the lifeboat as the ship shuddered beneath us. I turned back to face the ship, the silhouette of Mr. Angela looming on the deck, a specter of rage and sorrow. "Why?" I yelled, my voice breaking. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I was betrayed," she whispered, her voice carried by the wind. "And I will not rest until you all know my pain." The lifeboat drifted away, and I watched in horror as the hope seemed to shudder, a final lament echoing through the darkness before she began to sink. "Get us out of here!" the crew member shouted, pulling at the oars as panic surged through us. As we rode into the night, the screams faded, but the chilling laughter of Mr. Angela haunted every stroke. The rescue team arrived hours later, helicopters whirring above us as we were pulled from the sea. "Where's the ship?" they shouted, scanning the horizon. "It's gone," I gasped, heart pounding. Everyone is gone." They looked at each other, disbelief etched on their faces as they pulled us to safety. Later on the shores, I found myself staring out at the endless water, the sun rising over the horizon. I could still hear her laughter, that haunting sound echoing in my mind. "Angela," I whispered, knowing I could never escape the darkness she left behind. I had escaped the ship, but the curse had followed me, lurking in the shadows of my mind, a reminder that some secrets are best left buried in the depths of the ocean.